Hello friends, I've been waiting for this day for years and years and years. We're untying the lines for good, and I'm about to point to Hawaii. Let's get it going. I love you, puppy. I love you, Camille. Let's go.
Love you.
Just rounded the lighthouse for the last time for a very long time. It's blowing like 17, kind of on the nose. Pretty choppy, like 3-foot seas. I'm allowing myself the luxury of motoring past Catalina, and if there's not a good point of wind, I'll motor all the way to Santa Barbara Island, but then I shut off the motor and I won't be motoring anytime the rest of the trip except entering Honolulu. Beautiful sunny day out, and good wind if we were on the right point, not beating into it, but our Windvane's doing the job. Holding our course in these choppy seas, and yeah, get past all of our local islands, and then I can just relax a little bit. I'll be out of the shipping lane and stuff, so. So we made an unexpected stop last night here at Cat Harbor. Got in at 9:21, tied up to the mooring. Yesterday when we were sailing, we were beating into 17 knot headwinds. The seas were only like just over a meter, but they were a short period. And the problem was we were beating into everything. And the Windvane did great, but I started seeing some like weird movement in the what they call the mast on it. So I went and checked, and the top 2 mounting bolts holding it to the bracket had started like working themselves loose. And I didn't dare like take it out and try to put on a lock washer at sea because of the loads that were on it. I hadn't passed Catalina yet, and I was like, this is the most important piece of gear on the entire boat for an ocean passage. So I ducked in here and picked up a mooring so that I could deal with this. I'm gonna put thread sealant on the inside and then add a lock washer and then cinch it down, and hope that solves the problem. Other than that, I found there's actually 2 leaks, but one that I can deal with so far. Yeah, so get the Windvane secured down so that she doesn't come loose, and get back out to sea. Okay, got the Windvane sorted. Put sealant on this fitting that was leaking. Now time to just get the boat ready and push off. Well, the time has arrived to turn off the motor, and unless there's a tragedy or something like that, I won't be using the motor for propulsion for the rest of the trip. The wind's up to 18 knots right now, apparent, and the seas are bucky. The wind point isn't great, but I'll just alter course a little and deal with the seas and the wind as they are. So let's get the motor turned off. Very rolly, pretty big seas. Been trying to point to kind of, you know, not bash into them too much, but might have to do some southing before I start making our correct course for Hawaii. Brutal night. We have between 20 and 25 knots of wind since 4 p.m. yesterday. It's like 9 p.m. today. 9 a.m. today. I'm super seasick. We have just been getting hammered with gnarly waves. I took the third reef last night. The side decks were like rivers. We are shipping a lot of water, I think, through that aft little hatch. like waves just pour over that thing, and I think it's just going straight into the bilge. The automatic bilge pump decided to stop working, which I would sort out if I wasn't going to throw up every time I fucking move my head. So I've been using the emergency bilge pump to empty the bilge like every 20 minutes all night. Crash course in ocean sailing solo. Super tough. This is morning of day 5 since departing Los Angeles. Day 4 since leaving Cat Harbor after the repair on the Windvane. It's the first morning I feel human again. And boy, it has been a really, really rough go to this point. The seas have finally like calmed down into like regular ocean state seas, and the winds have kind of leveled out. They've been at like 14 to 15 knots since like 7 p.m. last night. So we haven't been completely awash with waves like we were the first 3 days, and those big seas really kind of killed progress in a bad way. So put a little more sail on. I got up at midnight and shook out the third reef. I went to sleep at like 8:30 last night, and the winds were down to like 12, 13 knots. And I didn't trust it. I'd had like 25 to 30 knot winds every night for the previous couple nights. I was like, I don't trust it. And then at midnight we were bobbing around like crazy because we had the third reef in and like no wind. So I went up, shook out the third reef, got us going, so it stabilized the boat. But at least now we're not hammering into giant waves like we have been. Just paid a little bit more head sail out, try to get some speed on us. Just trying to round up. Just took care of it. The waves will round us up sometimes, and we'll end up, I'll have to go out and just grab the tiller and we'll just do a big circle. But yeah, see what the day brings. I think the first day out of Catalina we did 85 nautical miles. The second day was like 74. That was the worst day, when it was like 25 to 30 knot winds and like 8 to 10 foot. There were some 12 foot seas for sure. I was standing on the foredeck, or on the side deck. I can't remember what I was. Oh, I was lashing some of the diesel cans down tighter, and we like came up over the top of a wave and dropped down into its trough, and it felt very similar to like dropping into a giant cement ball on a skateboard. So I was like, oh, this is about 12 feet. And it's like, she just rode down and rode up the other side. But yeah, and there were many times waves would break and I would see this side of the port lights completely covered in water and this side of the port lights completely covered in water. And the Dodger is worth her weight in gold. She's taken so many direct hits and just like did a great job. And even with the Dodger and the washboards in and the companionway shut, we would get hit by some waves that would just shoot water into the cabin. So everything in here is wet. I didn't get a ton of filming done those first couple of days because I was just trying to survive. So this is the first morning I feel like having breakfast. So I'm gonna have some granola, start my day, and yeah. Well, terrible news for me. The Windvane is working itself loose off of the boat. I'm like 200 and something miles off the coast of California. Obviously, if it's already coming loose, it's not going to last another 2,000 miles and then to Alaska. So, much to my dismay, I'm going to turn around and head back to California now. No other option. Super bummer, especially considering the first 3 days were, you know, so terrible. It kept losing course today and I couldn't figure out why, and I had checked it every day. I'd gone back and checked it, and then today like 4 of the bolts had worked themselves loose instead of just the 2, even the 2 that I had tightened up. So I think I have to like take the Windvane off and like re-thread those holes to make it work proper. Maybe the threads are stripped out. Fucking nightmare, man. So I guess my dreams are being diverted in another direction. Yeah, such a fucking bummer. But better it happened here than 1,000 miles out, because doing this trip with no Windvane would have been, I mean, it's possible, but it would have been terrible. So yeah, I guess point back to California and then figure out, you know, new cruising plans. I gave it my best shot. Okay, time to turn this boat around. Here we go, turning the boat around. Need to point 61 degrees. Maybe it'll be easier sailing. Well, I got the boat turned back around. I should be sailing into lighter winds, but now it's like not in a rush for anything at this point. Next time these bolts kind of start, I'm gonna have to tighten those things up kind of twice a day, I think. I'll show you, I'll get some video of you guys so you can see where they're coming apart at. The funny thing is, like, the dude I bought this from tried to take this, he was gonna use this to sail to Hawaii. Like, he sailed with this one from San Francisco to San Diego, and then he was gonna use it to sail from San Diego to Hawaii, and then said he, like, I don't know, one of the mounting brackets is broken, but he said he broke it taking it off, and that he just bought a monitor replacement and then sailed to Hawaii with this brand new monitor. I wonder if this was happening to him on the way down and he just didn't tell me when I bought it. I still would have bought it. If he'd have told me, I could have just, like, you know, dealt with it, but that's the problem with not having enough time to sea trial it. So got to be flexible. So one of the bolts has stripped completely out. I'll show you which bolt it is. I'm like 250 miles off the coast. I have my tiller pilot, but I'm worried about these seas breaking over and like killing it as well. So I think I'm just gonna lash the wind vane on the back and hope for the best. I'll show you what's up with it. So this bolt is just like shot. You can't tighten it down. I'm gonna like duct tape it so that it can't come out, so at least it holds this in place, and then lash the whole thing to the boat, and then just keep tightening the other bolts as I go and see what that does. One benefit is like I'm supposed to be coming into some light winds in the next 2 days. I have to do calculations and see how much fuel, how far I could motor with the fuel I have. I have like 10 gallons on the rail, and then like, I don't know, maybe 7 gallons in my tank. So time to do some lashing on this and then figure out if I should start motoring now or wait a couple days. Well, I finally got the boat to get to sailing, clipping off some miles. The forecast said we were supposed to have really light winds right now, but I have the full main up and probably like 110% of the headsail. There's supposed to be really light winds later tonight and then tomorrow. So I need to kind of make as many miles as I can to get in closer to the outer islands. Once I get to the outer islands, then I can motor sail through some of those calms. I just don't have a lot of fuel. She's cruising right now. This is the best she's sailed this entire trip, but we're not smashing into like 12-foot waves either. So, enjoying my lee cloths I put in, my little berth nest. It is like very chilly outside. It's been really warm the whole rest of all the other days. It was really nice and warm, and I could even go out in shorts, but it's really chilly out there right now. So yeah, just pointing for Cat Harbor and get in there. I'll probably get a mooring for a night or two so I can get the ground tackle all set up the right way, and then I'll be under anchor after that. And I guess the plan now is for Camille and Steady to come out and meet me at Catalina, and yeah, spend a couple days and talk about the future, get everything sorted out. But I'm just like obsessing with Navionics and Predict Wind and looking at our course. It's been hard to get her to point where I want her to point because I made so much southing because of that, all that wind and seas, that I just want to be able to get back up in the right zone. So that's the update. It's like, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 8:49 on, I think this is day 5. Charging back. Such a bummer. It's like, it's been a very dark day for me, but completely out of my hands. Nothing I can do about it. And I'm taking on water somewhere. I don't know where. So that's an issue. And And I'm not sure if I even talked about it earlier in the recordings, but the bilge pump stopped working like the first day out, and which normally isn't an issue because we have almost no water that comes to the boat. But we were shipping a lot of water with water coming over the decks on those first like 3 days of all the really bad winds, because there were so many seas breaking over Triteia that aft lazarette was just like water was pouring into it and it was coming to the bilge. The first night out of Catalina Harbor, I had to use the emergency hand pump in the bilge like every 15 minutes. Not that it was getting deep, but the high water alarm would go off and I just didn't want it to ever get away from me. So yeah, that whole night it was like as soon as it would start beeping, I would get up, hand pump it out. And yeah, it's definitely subsided a lot since we haven't been taking on the seas like that, but I don't know. Something else I have to sort out. Just sitting here, sailing in 14, this is 14 knots apparent wind. Thinking about what to do next. It's 3 a.m. Sails are just sliding around like crazy. But there's like these big giant, like, I don't know if they're moon jellies floating underwater by us. If the spreader lights are off, they're like glowing. Can't see it on the GoPro, but I'll see if I can show you guys one. I counted 4 leviathans at the surface at once. I don't know how many are in this pod. I'll have to look up what type of whale they are and put the text on the screen right now, because I'm not terribly familiar with whale fin identification. Wow, they're big. Wow, so big, so cool. Right in the middle of like rehooking up the anchor, and these like beautiful beasts just appear, slowly feeding 100 miles off of Catalina. Real treat. It's 7 p.m. Day 7. It's like breeze kind of popped up out of nowhere. Been motor sailing for the last 24 hours, and with both headsail and mainsail out all day, which had given us an advantage. It's blowing like 14, 15 apparent right now. As soon as it came up and we started heeling over, I put the second reef in so the boat would try to stay a little flat, comfortable, and efficient. And it's gusting pretty good right now. Reefed in the headsail, killed the engine. I have like half a tank of fuel left, and I'm 50 miles from Catalina. I'm certain that I could get there on that fuel, but I want to have a little bit to play with. I definitely wouldn't want to run out trying to anchor, and I may have plenty, but better be safe than sorry. I'm going to sail, and again, you know how these winds are at sunset in California anyway. They come up, kind of blow themselves out when the sun goes down, but we'll see. It's been a wild road to this point. I think I'm gonna sleep good once I get the hook down and the boat secured. Camille and Steady are gonna meet me out at Catalina on Monday at some point. So tomorrow will just be like resting and kind of getting the boat in order. I think over 500 nautical miles round trip. Not a pleasure cruise. But, you know, out of my control. What are you gonna do? So, happy to be not hearing the motor, even though we're taking the seas in the beam, a bit rolly. Good to be sailing. There's a large sailboat. First boat I've seen since I left Catalina 7 days ago. Probably a race boat, just due to the black mainsail, I would guess. Pretty big. If you'd like to see the trek and all the blog posts that were made in real time on the passage out and the return passage, you can check it out on our tracker provided by PredictWind. You can find the link to the tracker in the description below.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. It helps us a lot.
Thanks again to all of our patrons. Your contributions help us get the boat ready for big things.
Until next time.